You think you know what happened, but you only know half the truth. Welcome back, Ravens, to a new and exciting episode of Daybound. I've been sitting here next to the cozy stove, I've been standing here because, sitting in Minecraft, you know the issue. I need to learn how I can get these minecarts and stuff, because if I would have there a minecart in the corner, I would actually be able to sit right next to the stove. That would be so cozy. I need to do that. Back to the episode. I'm so excited about today's episode because I have planned a really cute build. It's really awesome. You will love it. I promise. And there will be so much story in this episode. More story than ever before, because we have to have Margaret explain a lot of stuff. I mean, having a warden in the basement isn't a normal thing, right? And Eric will finally explain some stuff too. He's willing to talk to Ragnar and the stranger. So you don't want to miss out on any bit of what is happening today at Angler's Rest, so make sure to watch till the end of the episode and then let me know what you think of it and how you think the story will unfold in the future. Quick side note before we actually start, my voice might sound today a bit different. I had a cold the past few days. I'm finally back to being able to speak, so I thought I might record some stuff. But yeah, my nose is still blocked and I need to cough every now and then, so yeah, it might sound different. It actually does sound different. You may not be able to hear it, but it does sound different. So now I have a hot cup of tea right next to me, and let's see how far we can get with this. So what are we gonna build today? I know there is the harbor and the portal area behind there, which need to be done. And I assume some of you already think like, when does she remove this awful yellow terracotta stuff and build some better things? I'm sorry. The events and things that will take place in these builds are not yet to happen in the story. So instead, we will be working on something behind there. And the thing that we build is an alchemist's workshop. I'm really excited about this. I had this in mind for quite some time now, and I thought it would be so great to have an alchemist's workshop in Angler's Rest, but oh man, you won't believe how complicated it is to design such a thing, because, well, I'll explain that later on. For now, let's just get rolling. I was shocked by what I had seen. After Margaret had gone back to bed, I crept quietly out of the bakery. Outside, I sat down by the stream for a moment. The creature in the basement was Walter, the baker's husband. Unbelievable. What had caused this transformation? I must have looked pretty beat when I entered the Canny Kraken, because although Ragnar had his hands full, he provided me directly with something to drink and placed me next to the fireplace so that I could warm up. After I had emptied 2 cups of lemonade, I was finally able to speak, but I didn't want anyone to overhear. Ragnar told me to follow him to the wine cellar. Aloud he said that he needed my help with one of the barrels. In the wine cellar we sat down on 2 empty barrels and I began to tell what I had seen and heard in the basement of the bakery. Ragnar hardly wanted to believe what I was saying. Is this some kind of disease? Can you catch it from those wines we had found in the broodmother's lair? Were we already infected too? But Margaret was still healthy. Finally, Ragnar said that we absolutely had to talk to Margaret. The very next evening, when the bakery was closed, we wanted to go. As I said before, I want to build the alchemist's workshop up there. This is where the entrance to the slime farm is that Mark's built. This is down here. And I feel like alchemy and slime does go together very well. Not sure what you think, but I feel like, yeah, an alchemist would probably make slime, right? And that way we can solve 2 problems. First, we can fill in the gap between the bakery and the herbalist to finish off the backdrop of Angler's Rest. And the second thing that we can accomplish by building the alchemist workshop here is we will finally give the slime farm a proper entrance, because Well, of course, you can jump down just a hole in the ground right next to a pillar of deep slate. But man, is that cool? No, it isn't, and it looks awful. So this will be so much better if the slime farm finally has a proper entrance. But before we can get there, we need to remove a whole ton of trees and leaves and grass and dirt to make some space for our alchemist workshop. And to do this, let's hop into a short time lapse. Dragwa had asked a friend to help out in the tavern so that we two could visit Margaret the next evening. She was looking very tired when she opened the door, but Dragwa said, straightforward as he was, that we knew who she hid in the basement and that we urgently needed to talk to her. Margaret seemed to become even paler than she already was, and without saying a word she let us enter. We sat down around the table in her cozy kitchen, and Margaret provided us with tea and cookies. Finally, she sat down with us and began to speak. Walter would have left one day about 4 months ago for a hike in the mountains without telling her much about what he was going to do. That was not unusual, she said, because he loved nature and was often out hunting. But this time, he didn't return until the next day. A few days later, the first signs of illness appeared. Blue-green pustules appeared on his arms and legs and continued to spread. Walter would have been afraid of what became of him and began to build the hutch in the basement. The more the disease progressed, the more he lost his mind. The cell in the basement was finished just in time for Margaret to lock her husband in. Since then, she had provided him with food and water and waited for him to get well, but it had gotten worse and worse. In the meantime, he almost didn't recognize her anymore, and she could only bring him his food when she was very, very quiet. When Dragwa asked why she had not asked anyone for help, she explained that they had been afraid that the adventurers would not come anymore if it became known that a dangerous disease was spreading in the town. But it was good that she finally could tell someone everything. The strain of the last few weeks had been enormous. We sat together for quite a while and decided that we really wanted to keep the whole thing a secret in order to not endanger the tourism on which the town was so dependent. Nevertheless, we wanted to start finding a cure and also give Margaret some support. I offered Margaret to take over the morning deliveries so that she would only have to worry about baking bread and rolls. Oh wow, that's a lot to chew on. Walter is the warden in the basement, and the other warden is maybe Ben, Angry Eric's lost brother? That is surely crazy. Does that mean Walter has found the ancient city? I'm sure we will find out about that very soon. As you might already have seen, I have not only cleared the space from trees and grass and such, I also terraformed the backdrop quite a bit, which took a large amount of time, and I'm still not satisfied with it, but at a certain point I thought, let's see how it looks like when the alchemist workshop is in place, because things might change until then, and if there's something else in the way, it might be not that important anymore if there is a grass block at one spot or not. By terraforming this area, we have not only prepared this place for a new build, I have also cleared out the view on the herbalist. And do you remember when I finished the herbalist, I said I would probably come back to it to further work on the outside? So this is exactly what happened, and it happens just naturally when you add new builds to your town or base or whatever you build. So don't go overboard with terraforming and decorating in the first place. Be patient and let the build work out itself on its own. I feel like that's the best recipe to how you can decorate and terraform and stuff. Obviously, this is not decorated at all, but why should I decorate now if there's the build missing? So this is what we need to work on first. Do you remember when we have been here last time to name an LA? I spotted in the background a new ocean monument that Swarmy had relocated for his base. Now, guess what? That's not the end of it. He has put a lot of work into something new, and I'm not sure if he has shown it, but I need to show it to you now. Just shortly, I won't go into any details here, but look at this. Isn't this crazy? You see that right next to my shoulder, there's the ocean monument in the water, and above this, there's this crazy structure. That's amazing. We surely have to figure out how we can incorporate this crazy structure into the story of Angler's Rest. I'm really, really looking forward to that. I hope that we can have some story taking place on the build. I'm not quite sure yet about Swarmy's lore about it, so I try to find out about this, and then we will have some scenes taking place there. I'm really looking forward to that. But let's focus on something else, on the reason why we are here. Today we will name a third one after another very special viewer of this channel. You want to be named, right? Here you go. Maybe not? Oh, you're searching for the right place to do it, right? Here you go. The person we name you after is Mahmoud. Ta-da! Mahmoud is an awesome member of this community. She has been there for a very long time. She's been playing on the server and always has good suggestions and great ideas. So this is the time to thank Mahmoud again for being there and supporting me. That's really, really great. I really appreciate this, and I'm happy to have you in my community. Thanks a lot. Back at the Kenny Kraken, Dragva led me to an empty room. No one was supposed to hear what we were talking about. We discussed what Margaret had told us until late into the night. To all appearances, the creature in the cabin on the mountain had to be someone else, because according to Margaret, Walter had been locked in the basement the entire time. Besides, we both had the feeling that Margaret had not told us everything. It had sounded in many places as if Walter had not been alone. So who had accompanied Walter, and why? Suddenly, Dragva slapped his forehead with his hand. Of course. Now everything makes sense. It had all happened 4 months ago. That was exactly when Ben disappeared, and the cabin on the mountain belonged to Ben. Ben had to be the other creature, and that's why Eric is away from home so often, because, like Margaret, he provides Ben with food and water. So the next morning, while delivering rolls, I would cautiously approach Eric about our suspicions and see how he reacted. As it was already very late, and because I had to be in Angler's Rest very early every day now with my new job, Dragva offered me the spare room. This way we could also plan our next steps more easily. Since Dragvar and the stranger do make some progress in this story, we need to go ahead and build this alchemist workshop finally, because, well, there might be a point when Dragvar or the stranger think about visiting the alchemist, and yeah, at that point, this building has to be finished, so we should surely dig into it and see what happens if the alchemist's workshop finally stands here, right next to the herbalist. So let's get into a time lapse and finish the building. When Eric saw me the next morning, he was immediately very angry, and it took me a while to get him to understand that I was delivering the rolls. Completely astonished, he asked me how I came to this, and I explained to him that I was here to help, and Eric had said himself that Margaret and her husband needed help. Somewhat reconciled, he nodded, but when I told him that I also wanted to help him, he just dismissively explained that he didn't need any help. I told him that Dragva and I were looking for a cure for Walter's illness, and that I believed he was also interested in such a cure. At this, Eric again really burst out with anger. What? How do you come to that? What did Margaret tell you? Nothing. She is very good at keeping secrets, but I'm not stupid. I can put one and one together, but I'm not going to force you, Eric. Here are your buns. Think about it and get back to Dragvar. I was already on my way to the next house when Eric called me back. He would come to the tavern in the evening, but only if I promised not to talk to Sybil about all this. I promised it. Unbelievable! Eric wants to finally talk to the stranger Eric again. That's awesome. Maybe this is the point where the stranger finally will get his mortar and pestle made of the goat horn. Let's see how that turns out later. For now, let's have a look at the new build. Isn't this cute? I really fell in love with this build again, but it took so much time to design, you won't believe that. In an alchemist workshop, everything is round. The cauldron, the tubes and pipes, all the vials and stuff, and Minecraft only has blocks. I had a lot of issues getting this done, and I am still not happy with everything, but well, that is how it is. Like, honestly, that was the point when I wished I would have created, because, think of it, how this would look like if I would have created pipes and tubes and stuff. Oh my goodness, I would love it. But well, it is like it is. We are in vanilla, so we need to use what we have, and this has to just do it. We have this big cauldron here, a mini cauldron over there where things can be cooked up and then they can be delivered directly into the laboratory over there. This house has all around like tubes and pipes and little chimneys and stuff. And here in that place you can like go and take a little test tube maybe with the help of this cauldron to see if the brew is already working. I think it came out quite good. I love this tail cap like roof over here. That's like a funny little detail to the build. So that's the outside done. Eric actually came in the evening and we retired to my room so as not to be disturbed. With a cup of lemonade in his hand, Eric began to talk. You think you know what happened, but you only know half the truth. Margaret knows next to nothing about it. She thinks Ben seduced Walter into looking for the ancient city, but it wasn't like that. Sybil is to blame for all of this. Sybil had wanted to find the ancient city ever since she arrived in Engels Rest 11 years ago. Now, 4 months ago, she had managed to make some kind of compass, but it turned out that the compass only worked when Walter was holding it. Supposedly this was because Walter had obtained the goat's horn that was used in all of that nasty magic. Sybil and Walter originally wanted to search for the ancient city together, but Walter had always been bad at keeping secrets, so he had let Ben and Eric in on it. Eric had thought it was all suspicious and warned Walter to go with Sybil. Therefore, Walter had then asked him and Ben if they would like to finally uncover the secret of the legendary ancient city. Ben had been immediately fire and flame. The two of them had talked for hours about what a great amusement park they would make of the town and how they would all get rich because so many adventurers would come to Engels Rest. In the end, Ben and Walter had gone off on their own without Sybil. How they had gotten the compass, Eric didn't know, but they seemed to have found the town and activated something in it. On the run, Ben had been injured, and when they finally got back, Ben already had the first symptoms. The rest of the story we already knew from Margaret. We discussed everything for quite a while and finally decided to leave Sybil in the dark for the time being and talk to Akanda the alchemist instead. He and Sybil had been at loggerheads from the beginning, so it was unlikely that he would reveal anything to Sybil. Okay, now we gotta hurry, because as we just heard, Dragva, Eric and the stranger decided that the stranger will visit the alchemist. So we need to now put in the interior into this, and as you see, there's not much space in this house. Even though it is so enormous from the outside, in the inside there's just nothing to put here. So I thought this might be very fast, but wow, it took me another 4 hours or something to get the interior done, because if you have a cramped space, it's not easy to have it look good. So you'll see in a moment how that turns out. When I delivered the breads and rolls on my tour the next morning, I went into the workshop of the alchemist instead of just leaving it back on the porch. Arcanor was already busy with potion brewing by the looks of things and signaled me that I had to wait a moment if I wanted to talk to him. I took a look around in his shop and his laboratory. It was fascinating. Finally, the alchemist came to me and I explained him that Ragnar and I needed him for a special remedy, and if he was willing to come to the tavern later today. He eyed me suspiciously and said he had seen me at Sybil's several times before. I nodded and explained to him that circumstances had changed and that I needed a real scientist. With a raised eyebrow, he finally nodded and confirmed to me that he would be coming to the Kenny Kraken later. At least building the interior went faster than I thought, but I was missing a lot of blocks. Seems like I can't count right this week. At the end, I could figure out all the blocks that I needed, and I think everything is in place now. So let's have a short tour through the inside, as only the shop was seen in the story and not the laboratory. We have all over the place in the alchemist's workshop these kettles or cauldrons or mega tubes or mega vials, I don't know, where he is storing potions, mixtures, concoctions, I don't know. Obviously you can buy different potions from the alchemist, and yeah, here's another one of these mega cauldrons. And then we get into here. The first part of the laboratory has a whole bunch of books, and on that side there is again a cauldron with some tubes connected where he can get some samples from the mega cauldron outside. Then there's another floor up here. As you see, it's really tight and cramped in here, so I thought I wouldn't put too much details into that to not feel overwhelmed up here. But the best detail of all of this is this tank up here with the purple fluid again. Love potion maybe, or whatever could be a purple fluid. So this is where the alchemist works and brews all of his concoctions. Now there's one little detail missing on the build, and I wanted to do that together with you again because we did that the last 2 times, I think. And that is adding the shop's sign up here. So let's get up there and put some item frames up. And then we put in some of the potions that we have, and that should look very good from afar. Let's see. Yes, that looks good. I love it. Awesome. That is the alchemist done. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time and can't do the decoration of the outside. But to be honest, I have only a vague idea of how this shall look like. So maybe this just needs some more time to come together in my mind, and then we can do that in one of the next episodes. We learned a lot today about the things going on in Angler's Rest. Unbelievable that the 2 wardens are the infected Walter and the infected Ben, who finally seem to have found an entrance to the ancient city. And then there's Sybil, who we always assumed is keeping a lot of things secret. Now it seems even dangerous to keep on working with her, so we need to find out more. Why does she want to get to the ancient city so badly? I guess we will find this out over the next episodes. I had a lot of fun again making up the whole story for this episode, and if you enjoy this kind of Minecraft Let's Play, hack that like button and make sure to watch the next video. And until then, thanks for watching.